gloves are coming off. We've got to talk about why the advertising industry's adoption of data clean rooms may get messy, and how even the cleanup job isn't so clean cut. With a third-party cookie going away, advertisers, publishers, platforms, and ad tech firms are all looking for new means of applying data to target and measure ads, and the data clean room has become among the most attractive options.
You're going to need to have a clean room, full stop. One of the things that I think people are so focused on is the deprecation of third-party data and third-party cookies, but they forget that that also includes pixels. And so a lot of campaigns may actually be executed through a clean room environment. So clean rooms could power the entire campaign process, from planning, insights, second-party data, activations, partnerships, as well as measurement and attribution.
The data clean room gets its name from manufacturing clean rooms that are designed to keep out contaminants. In the case of the data clean room, the aim is also to keep in data. Data clean rooms basically provide a means for companies to match their data with data from other companies without those other companies being able to take that data outside of the clean room. It's kind of like Las Vegas. Whatever goes into the clean room stays in the clean room.
A clean room should do three things. It should protect people's attributes. So you should not be able to append an attribute at a user level, which is the differential privacy, right? And then secondarily is you should have that multi-party compute function. So you should be able to marry data sets and match them without moving them. And then the last one is you prevent linkages, right? So you can't actually take my data and your data against an identity like a ramp ID or a fabric ID or a core ID and reverse engineer those back to the individual.
There isn't just one clean room though. Platforms like Google, Meta, and Amazon have their own clean rooms. And then media companies, advertisers, and agencies are all creating their own clean rooms that are powered by various clean room providers. This multitude of different clean rooms is where things start to get messy.
Amazon, for example, or Google, or whatever, Facebook is built on their own infrastructure, their own platform. But in InfoSum and Snowflake are product clean rooms, but they all accept data and talk to each other differently. Outside of the product clean rooms and a Snowflake or a LiveRamp, InfoSum out there in the ecosystem, across them, right? There's no objective standard to how to talk. So within a Snowflake ecosystem, right, there are data sharing mechanisms to allow to permission data and do it in a privacy sharing way, but the challenge then becomes either everyone has to standardize on Snowflake, which Snowflake would be happy about, and it's a great technology, we love them and we work with them, but not everyone's going to be on Snowflake.
And that's where the need arises for interoperability. So to scale and to have efficiencies, you need these to be interoperable. And nobody wants to develop bespoke implementations for each advertiser that they want to work with, or each ad tech partner or vendor that the advertiser has chosen to work with.
As much as the clean room recalls the idea of a windowless, vacuum-sealed room, they also kind of function like a locked metal briefcase. An advertiser or media company puts their data in the briefcase, and the clean room provider serves as its custodian, guarding the briefcase so that only those with permission can access the data, and supervising what they can or cannot do with that data.
That's why the multi-party compute element is so critical, but you need to do that in a way that protects all the parties involved, which is why when you have the walled garden say, oh, well, we have a clean room, brand, just send us all your data. It's that's not a clean room. Why am I sending you all of my data so that I can take on the risk and then you can do all the functions inside of your own platform with zero visibility? No, that's not how that works. The whole premise of a clean room is to match data without moving data.
The need for interoperability arises from your desire, or the desire of every business that's dealing with user data, to not want to have to share that data with a number of third parties. And if they share it with a third party, they want to be able to vet the third party and that vendor. And so how do those vendors, for an agreed upon set of operations, data collaboration operations, enable those collaborations to happen without requiring their customers to trust all of the vendors with their data?
Instead of companies sharing their data directly with one another, they would match their data through their respective clean rooms. But for that to work, those clean rooms would need to speak the same language, so to speak.
the standards are going to have to be developed to talk between clean rooms.
What Rossen's referring to is an agreed upon industry standard that would need to be introduced in order to avoid a situation where different data clean rooms coalesce around different methods of structuring and sharing data.
It's like electricity, right? Like if you had those 2-pin plugs, if they weren't standardized, then your whole wall would be full with like different types of plugs to run each of the appliances that you have. So it's kind of similar. What is required is one is the definitions of the different operations the clean room performs. That's kind of the first step to get clarity on those definitions, like the inputs or the outputs, permissions, how the operations are permissioned. And then to define protocols to perform these operations. So those kind of things, we've been looking at those.
The IAB Tech Lab plans to have its addressability working group work on developing these cleanroom standards. It hasn't yet convened that group to focus on cleanrooms, but it plans to do so soon.
We've just sent out a message for people who are interested to collect all the people who are interested in participating in this. So hopefully like in a month's time, we'll launch that effort.
Since advertisers, agencies, and media companies are all still pretty early in adopting cleanrooms, the people I talked to said the industry is kind of split on how urgent it is for these cleanroom standards to be developed.
If you ask the ones that are already the early adopters, like they'll already tell you they're running into issues like interoperability issues.
Once we get a tipping point where people are full on media investment, like 2/3 to 3/4 of our media investment are like scaled in clean room use, right? Clean room data. That's where we're going to get to a point where not only our clients will start asking the question, well, okay, so how do we measure all this stuff together, right? But then the industry's going to have to be like, well, we have to do something about this. Focus on just like getting the brands and the global brands adopted and putting their money into the clean rooms in terms of data usage, be based on media activation, and that will then help push this over the tipping point.
Of course, because this situation isn't complicated enough, there's also the potential for privacy regulations to play a factor in how clean rooms can and cannot be used. But policy considerations won't be an initial focus of the IAB Tech Lab's efforts to develop clean room standards.
So in this initial phase, I think we'll focus more on the technology and the process and the operations. We'll probably not, we'll expect that, whatever regulation is applied, just like in any of other standards, but the companies are following those regulations as the additional layer over the clean room.
So IAB Tech Lab will initially be focusing on the technical aspects of clean room standards and not so much the policy considerations. It's definitely a simpler approach. Is it the right one?
See, this is where I think you need to merge policy and tech. You know what I mean? Because you're working with a new mindset here. Like you can't just take tech and develop the standards. You have to understand what is happening in the world of policy. And I think you also, what's missing here is like, where's the feedback from the marketplace? What do actual consumers want?
So, for as messy as the clean room interoperability issue may become, it seems like the industry is really going to have to get its hands dirty in order to create the standards to clean up the situation.